Oh, we're cranking out videos today. This is part 3 of the Phantom Menace 2-5 Society. And how about that laser whip? Now, I'll explain the light whip for the latest Acolyte trailer. I mean, the first time we saw something like that was what? During the Clone Wars when you had the Coyote people. The Coyote people would use the laser whip to enslave people. So they took people from Togruta, right? What's her name? Shakti and Ahsoka's home planet, and tried to enslave them with these laser whips. And I remember Dooku was like annoyed when Anakin used the laser whip instead of the lightsaber. So, well, wait, I mean, Dooku cheats with Force lightning. What's his problem? So anyway, I don't know what's going on. They're trying to the whole gimmick to that is that it's prequel to the Phantom Menace, and it's supposed to be a mystery as to why one of their own would become an acolyte. I don't know how they're going to fit it in. This is going to be a retcon thing because we'll see. We'll get to it in a moment. But let's go ahead. We're still on Tatooine. Let's get to the end of the journey and before we get to Coruscant, or as Jake Lloyd would say, Coruscant. Now here, all this time, Maul's been sneaking around on Tatooine, checking up on the Jedi.
Wait, I'm tired! Anakin, drop!
Now, I saw Star Wars Theory had a recent, very short, kind of more of a motion comic than anything else with pretty CGI effects. So I'll talk a little bit about his new, but in that fan film that came out, I think early yesterday, on Saturday, May 18th, I think? Yeah, it was May 18th. So he had shown the first time Thrawn meets Vader. And it was not much of anything. There wasn't much of a thing that happens there. Just, okay, these two meet. And then that's it. Now, Anakin meets Grievous in Revenge of the Sith. That's why they never meet at all. I mean, if it was a real probability, those two would have met before Revenge of the Sith, but that's the way it is. Anakin and Maul never do meet. I do recall a comic book, Dark Horse Comics, where there was a clone of Maul somehow left over by the Emperor, that this Maul clone escaped and challenges Vader. And Maul tells Vader, see if any of you remember this. He tells Vader, I hate you. So Vader stabs himself through the stomach and stabs Maul because Maul is right behind him. And Vader says, not as much as I hate myself. Some things are never meant to happen. Two ships pass by. Just the way it is, like nothing is meant to go further than that. This is the one and only time that these two meet ever. From Anakin's time to Anakin as Vader to Vader, I mean, just nothing. Nothing happens between these two as far as I can tell. Maul goes his separate ways. Maul comes back to the very spot. You know, he's fighting Qui-Gon. So that's all there is. We'll move forward. So this is all a preview. It's kind of reminiscent of when Obi-Wan fights Vader on the Death Star. Just a little bit of here and there. Just a preview of sorts. It's supposed to be a longer fight on the plank, but they skip ahead. And here we are introduced to the planet Coruscant. You can barely see it here. Orange lights on a planet. And I kind of appreciate the planet more when we get to the beginning of Attack of the Clones. You know, the sort of the dark, kind of gritty, but Blade Runner perspective of it, which they do a nod to that in the second movie. But for now, we're getting the sort of the Flash Gordon. So we're getting a little bit of that city coming around. Just
The entire planet is one big...
Instead of the Death Star, we go to the Coruscant. We're going to where, unlike Alderaan, we're going where we're supposed to go. And here we have the first kind of full appearance of Palpatine, no holograms this time. We're seeing the Senator now. The whole idea in the Darth Plagueis novel was that he go Damask, was supposed to accompany that. He decided to go his own way. Um, a lot of plotting, a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I'm hoping that Everest Productions can really like put those key points. I mean, you can. The thing about adapting a book into a and for his case, a fan film, is to really kind of what parts are going to be repetitive, what parts are going to be significant to put in. And he is. I mean, don't bug him about it. He's really going to get that done. But one thing at a time. To be fair, some of his projects were unfinished, like the direct sequel to Return of the Jedi. He never finished that. Nor did he finish the Dark Disciple kind of radio show. So I'm hoping he finishes what he starts here. And so there's a lot of plotting here. Just we're seeing Valorum, we're seeing Palpatine, and some of the Blue Republic officers. This is the base of operations. It's a lot of people walking around, dignitaries, governors, senators. This is what the feeling of the whole thing is. I think that's still the decoy. Padme's right behind her. It's like this is what Jor-El would look like if they had used Terrence Stamp in Smallville. He'd be on. It's like the planet's exploding. No, we don't believe you. I like that part where Anakin overhears a conversation from like 100 feet away. Go on, young man. I think this is where George Lucas put back like about 10 seconds more of seeing Coruscant. This was not in theaters. Now it's back in theaters because he put it back. And now we're introduced to the council chambers. I think this is it.
Before the Galactic Senate votes. System Acroleus.
They got to go over all the names.
Whoa, Mama, finally some action.
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, I propose a procedural amendment to Space Bill number 371.
Yeah, here it is. This is the real one.
Recognizes the senator from the sovereign system of Naboo.
Armies of the
I object. There is no proof. This is incredible. We recommend a commission be sent to Naboo to assess.
This is the stuff that's going on in the Plagueis novel.
Into the bureaucrats. The true rulers.
Now, I do believe that's still the Keira Knightley one, because that can't be. That's not Natalie. So I think the thing is that what is happening here is that it would make more sense for Palpatine to manipulate the decoy than. I mean, I don't think anybody would want to see Padme get manipulated by by Palpatine. In Revenge of the Sith, there was a whole declaration. There was a whole set of deleted scenes with the 2000, right? That was a whole other political thing similar to this one. That was going to detract from what was happening with Anakin turning to the dark side and the Clone Wars ending. They didn't want to like bog it down. They already bogged it down with this one, right? So in that one, you could tell what Palpatine was trying to turn Anakin against Padme. All we got in Revenge of the Sith was a lie that he told that he killed her. But this is the decoy. So he's talking to the decoy queen. Now, does he know that it's not Padme? Probably. I mean, why wouldn't he know that? But he's trying to manipulate Padme through her decoy to say, okay, well, I think it's time for new blood. Valorum's not doing his job, and that's the end of it. So we're going to move on.
Strength will disappear.
No confidence in Chancellor Valorum's leadership.
You are finished, Zod. Kneel before Palpatine. So this is Anakin's test.
Was a Sith Lord.
I'm very curious as to how the retcon is going to work for the Acolyte. Somebody will come up with a theory, I'm sure, but, it's like, okay, what do these Acolytes mean to the Sith? I mean, is not an Acolyte a derivative of the Sith? Like Padawans to Jedi? I don't know.
I believe the Sith could have
Oh,
returned
God.
without us knowing.
Now, of course, this is exclusive to newer versions after 1999. So George Lucas replaced the 90s Muppet with CGI. Now, I don't know how I feel about it. I was okay with the puppet. The reason being is that, we see Palpatine as a hologram in this movie because he first appeared as a hologram in Empire Strikes Back, so why can't Yoda be a physical puppet? Now, George Lucas was like, okay, people complained that Yoda didn't look like Yoda, so we're going to change it. So they're trying to keep him a digital puppet for 3. I mean, kind of an insult to Frank Oz, honestly, because he worked so hard to make sure that the mannerisms. I even like some of the behind the scenes featurettes where you see an idle Yoda, but he's kind of just sitting around looking around. Kind of now I was thinking about E.T. and Drew Barrymore, how she wanted to see E.T. move even when the cameras were off. I thought that was cool. But I don't know. I'm just kind of uneasy with this change. I think maybe even Yaddle is digital as well. I don't know. They changed everything. I mean, George Lucas can do this, but can't remember to put Sebulba back in the pod racer chair at the end because, you're on a big screen. You can see everything. But anyway, let's move on. So I'm not mad about the midichlorians. I'm not.
You refer to one who will bring balance to the Force. You believe it's this boy?
So this scene doesn't really go anywhere. Ultimately, of course, they say that he won't be trained, but later on he does. We'll get into that. But yeah, so midichlorians, I remember as far back as the early 2000s, I used to talk to this guy who would he used to sell bootleg DVDs of movies, like fan movies, like the Fantastic Four, which was supposed to be a legitimate movie, but never got released to the public, except in DVD forms. Now it's probably on YouTube somewhere. Other things that never got released. So, I mean, like, if going back to those days where you would get VHS tapes and DVDs and comic books from the 2000s, what a time that was. So he was a cool guy up until I don't think he had watched the prequels yet. He started to watch the prequels because Revenge of the Sith had yet to come out. So we only had Attack of the Clones and the Phantom Menace. So I was kind of on the hype train for Revenge of the Sith. I was like, I want to know what was going on with that. Outside of that, though, he got mean and kind of mean-spirited after a while. He never really talked to me. I don't know why, because I never really did much. We didn't really talk much outside of me visiting his. And I did buy things from him, so it's not like I didn't buy anything. So he got all bitchy about midichlorians, and I'm like, well, it's sort of a measurement of the Force that George Lucas explained. George Lucas, one of the things he wanted to do with concerning the Force and midichlorians, he wanted to explain in 7, 8, and 9, right? So Force Awakens, Last Jedi. He wanted to explain how midichlorians work with each person, the measurement of the Force. Like, if you have 1,000 midichlorians, what kind of person are you? If you have 10,000 midichlorians, what does that make you, right? And it would have been nice to have had a scene somewhere in Star Wars, whether it's the TV shows or the movies, where you have these philosophical monk-like people. And there are philosophical characters, like you would see in Rebels with, I forget the Lamont, the people, the purple hairy people that look like Chewbacca. Okay. They're magicians. They're like witch doctors, but they practice in the Force, right? So they're neither good or evil. They're not Sith or Jedi. And they could explain that although your midichlorians determine your powers and abilities, it is your morality that is separate from the Force. So that's sort of like, how you use the Force. It's how you use midichlorians that you are given. We take what is given, what Cole Skywalker says to Kate Skywalker, and we take what is given, but how we use it determines our role in the galaxy. So that's all this is about, really. It is unusual to see digital Yoda in Phantom Menace. So we're introduced to Ki-Adi-Mundi and some of the other Jedi Council. Some leave and some come in. That stupid look. And it looks weird. Yeah, so the whole thing is reversed when Obi-Wan deals with the young Anakin. Anakin is rebellious, kind of like Qui-Gon. In a lot of ways, Qui-Gon is like where Luke is at in The Mandalorian. I kind of like this, where it's like if you go to like Disneyland and everybody knows what you're thinking, kind of like the E.T. ride from the 90s. Yes, this is the thing we remembered.
Leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
The moral of this movie. So here, I'm not going to show you much because it's not much of a great scene anyway, but here we are, nighttime, because he wanted to do it at night. It is the sort of comforting version of the Gungans and the humans of Naboo trying to get along. So we know they're on the same moral side. That's what's important. So there they come with some good news. Of course he is. So this is a little bit of arguing between politicians.
No different than that of our people.
Ah. So like when Anakin says to Palpatine, his fate will be the same as ours.
It is clear to me now that the Republic
Here comes the
no longer
implied
wants-
smile.
I pray you will bring sanity and compassion back to the Senate.
It's kind of like the Grinch had a wonderful, awful idea. Do you see what I see? Like he's gonna smile, and the minute she closes that door, right? It is just awful. I mean, oh my god, it's kind of weird when you think about how much he did in the 3 movies, and then by A New Hope, just not there. Nope, mentioned but not there. No Yoda, no Palpatine. They get to have their fight in Episode 3 because they're not there at all in A New Hope. But anyway, that wicked smile.
It's a tomb.
What the hell? The hell? What is all that? Oh my god. Is this where Obi-Wan finds the Jedi Council? Oh, this happens later. Sorry. That's just sad.
And you'll be safe.
So most people are cringe. This is the most cringe part, like having to explain it all. I mean, I think that George Lucas attempts to try to explain Star Wars in a new way that's not been done before. I think that's all it is. Because if you know where everything is and you know what everything does, then there's no surprises left. I was surprised when I read and by the way, when I went to go see The Phantom Menace in 3D, I took the book with me just to kind of keep up with what was happening behind the scenes with the Sith and all that. But I think he wanted to have a surprise. And I was surprised that The Phantom Menace took place as the last few chapters of the book. All this time that... See, so... you have Palpatine, you have Anakin on the same platform on Coruscant, but does not suspect a thing, does not know that that Anakin is a great, a future Jedi or Sith, right? So he's just like, okay, whatever, that's the kid. This kid's there, right? And there's this whole dialogue between Dooku and Palpatine about, okay, well, the blockade has to be stopped, but then there's another problem. There's this kid that has this power, and it's like, what do you mean? Like, so the original description was that Palpatine would sense his replacement, so he had to kill Plagueis. So going back to midichlorians and trying to explain the logic of things, it's all kind of like, all the stuff gets explained better with the books and all that, but for now, it's all a mystery that George makes up as he goes along. So they're going back to Naboo. They're going to try to find Boss Nass. I like this shot. That's definitely Padme. How do they get past the blockade? Yeah, if there's like a droid, but like, I don't know. How do you get past the blockade? So here, Obi-Wan apologizes. It's very similar to Anakin apologizing to Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith. It kind of mirrors. I think that when I knew that was going to be the last scene before they had the big fight on Mustafar, but this is the last real scene they have before Qui-Gon falls to Maul. So here everybody regroups. Let me, let's adjust. Good God. All right. Yep, I'm wearing white shirt today. So here they're trying to bargain, and you got the decoy trying to talk. I love this part. See, Qui-Gon knew, but Anakin didn't know. He hasn't tuned his senses yet.
I ask you to help us. No, I beg you to help us.
This is so good. This is such a good scene. I like that he reprised his role for Lego Star Wars. Now we're going to take a little break to kind of look at some of the commercials here. This is more of the same Taco. This is where they fight. They fight and fight. Look at that. There's George Lucas and some girl in a red hat. I got this, man.
Look what I found. Play defeat the dark side. Collect cool.
So they're flying around everywhere. They're going everywhere. There's a whole movie.
Hey, Yoda, you're 6 inches tall. Everything makes you feel tiny.
Right now, these cool Star Wars collector cups. Each feature
Hey, it's what though?
exclusively at Taco Bell, KFC,
It's what though? That's as good as my Watto can get.
Anakin Skywalker. Darth Maul. You people are really coming along. The Star Wars Episode 1 experts are at KFC. We've got something good to share. Our Star Wars Tower with its space-filling whole-breasted chicken, hash brown, and cheese for only $2.45. It's in a
2
galaxy
pounds.
not
2
so
pounds and
far away.
45, whatever that is. Interesting.
2 kids meals, please.
Could you give me a kid's meal, please?
A single pilot utility transport from Oda Gunga. It's fast enough to escape the John Minogue sea killer.
Wow.
Episode 1 is here.
I have to ask Dark Blue Monkey if he, or Kali UK if he's got one of those. I wanted the sub. Did that sub ever get to be an actual toy beyond that Happy Meal?
Collect all 4.
I'm hoping it did.
We've got something good to share. Queen Amidala.
I once saw, well, I might show it tonight, but Natalie Portman in the makeup 25 years later don't look good.
People are really coming along. The Episode 1 experts at KFC have got something good to share. A black hole filling Star Wars mega bucket. Share it with your friends for only $9.99. Unless you're Darth Maul, who ain't got any. It's in a galaxy not so far, far away.
Cross-promotional stuff.
Ready, everybody? Anakin,
Okay, so
people are really coming along.
they all worship George Lucas in a white suit. Anyway, I'm gonna let's wrap this up. All right. I think we're gonna wrap it up tonight. We'll go through the 3 the retaking Theed Palace and the battle in the sky, and of course Maul versus Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and some legacy stuff, and that'll be about it. Yeah, I'm having fun doing this. I hope you are too. It's fun to go back and look at this movie that you never thought would age. We never thought this movie would age. We always compared the 3 movies to the original trilogy, but it has its own following. And I know that Classic Game Room Mark doesn't like Jar Jar. I'm okay with Jar Jar. I don't hate Jar Jar. I think some of the digital technology has aged a bit. You can see the seams easily, some of the pixelation, but that's about it. So may the Force be with you, and we'll wrap this up tonight. Catch up if you can in all the past chapters. All right, see you then.